60 Minutes with Angela starts right now.
Now, the national chairman of the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, Professor Ahmed Rufai Alkali, says, and I quote him, the NNPP has become the party to beat, not just in Kano State, but all over the country, end of quote. And my guest today seems to agree with him. He says that the New Nigeria People's Party is on a mission to dislodge the ruling party, the All Progressives Congress, APC. And he goes further to say that Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso, the presidential candidate of the party, and the NNPP are going confidently into the general election because Kwankwaso is a name that both the APC and the major opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, respect, because his contributions to both parties cannot be quantified. Ladipo Johnson, the National Auditor and now Vice Presidential candidate of the NNPP, joins me on the program today. Congratulations on your nomination as the vice presidential candidate of your party, the NNPP.
Thank you very much.
I wanted us to start with your assessment of your rival parties, that is the APC and the PDP, their primaries, their results, their processes, their candidates now that the candidates have emerged. Who worries your party the most?
After the end of the second set of primaries, that of the APC,
yes,
and the emergence of their candidate, you will recall that there was this rush to get registered by a lot of people in the country. That in itself says something. The people of Nigeria, we believe, have looked at both of them and are saying to themselves, no, it cannot and it must not be one of these two. The primaries, as to be expected, depicted all that is bad about our democracy. I'm saying the two primaries.
Yes.
It was purportedly a cash and carry affair. One person purportedly took care of the delegates. The other primaries saw one person purportedly take care of the delegates and aspirants as well. Whichever way you look at it, Nigerians must realize that the distasteful throwing around of money should show Nigerians that these two parties really have nothing new to offer. No one will invest and spend that much money and then go to government and think about the masses of the country.
What about the point raised, talking about monies now offered to delegates and aspirants, allegedly? People say, yes, people will take those monies, but people still have and reserve the right to vote as they wish, irrespective of having received monies. I mean, we know of some aspirants who, after losing, decided to try to recover such monies from the delegates.
Once you get involved in that process, then whatever comes out from the process you have to take.
Yes.
But be that as it may, that's what we tell the people, especially when it comes to the general election. And you see people being induced 2,000, 5,000 naira, 4,000 naira. We keep telling them that you take that money and you vote that way, you've mortgaged your next 4 years and beyond.
Yes.
So it is part of the education we have to give the Nigerian voting public between now and February next year.
Yes.
To know that those who have been in government, one for 16 years, one for 8 years, would not, if they had performed, they wouldn't have to buy your votes.
Yes.
But because they haven't performed, they have to try to induce you one way or the other. Their argument is always that this is Nigeria, it's a big country, you have to spend money on politics.
Yes.
If your party doesn't have the money, that's your problem. Now, yes, you have to spend money on adverts and on everything.
Logistics.
But it's immoral to try to induce people.
All right, now that you've, dismissed their primaries, I wanted to borrow a leaf from the United States presidential elections, where they tell candidates to say something nice about their opponents. You've said that the NNPP is on a mission to dislodge the APC, and you can see I'm giving you the side eye.
Yeah.
The APC is the ruling party.
Yes.
If for nothing, you can't say they haven't done anything. We've seen infrastructure development massively. They have their weak points, So what would you say, as far as you are concerned, that the APC has done well in the last 8 years?
I really have to think. It's difficult. They've spent quite a bit, as you say, on infrastructure. But then I always ask myself, at what cost? What are the costs of these projects? Do you just keep borrowing? This government has borrowed more than any other government we've had.
So you're not against the borrowing?
No, I'm not against borrowing if it is constructive borrowing. And then at what time do you go borrowing? So if you're doing a lot of infrastructure, for instance, how many of these Nigerians have you employed in these projects? Are they just the Chinese bringing in their people to ensure that they're there working on the railways and doing what have you? You see, you have to look at these things closely.
Yeah.
Someone said, look at Lagos. And I know that their candidate is going to say that.
Yes.
That look at what I did in fact, he said that. He said that. Look at what I did in Lagos. And my answer to that is, do not compare Lagos to Borno or what have you. Lagos might be ahead, but it is not what you have achieved or what you ought to have achieved with what you are given. The economy in Lagos is bigger than Ghana and most countries around the area. Yes. So what have you achieved? We're not where we're at. We're not where we ought to be, rather.
Yes.
So don't come and tell us that look at what I did in Lagos. It's sort of with what we should, where we should be. And that's, among other issues, are the things that we will be discussing in the next 9 months. We're bringing that to the people of the country, and it is left to them to decide.
Yes.
Either way.
Yes.
And whosoever wins, we will respect, we will support, because Nigeria first before us all.
Nigeria first.
Yeah.
Right. So you are the coordinator of the Kwankwassiya movement. So I've always wanted to know, what is the Kwankwassiya movement? What does that mean?
I'm the coordinator of the Kwankwassiya movement in Lagos.
In Lagos.
Yeah. Now, but the Kwankwassiya movement, may I say, I make bold to say, was the biggest political organization outside the PDP and the APC.
Yes.
Now, the Kwankwassiya movement was, as you all know, developed naturally from the political movement of Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. He was a student of the late Aminu Kano.
Right.
He started early, as you know, some 30 years ago. During the SDP days, Kwankwaso was the deputy speaker as a young man of the National Assembly. You see that we adopted the colors of the late Aminu Kano, the red on white and black as well.
Yes.
He used to put on a black jacket and a red cap. It was a mass movement, something for the people to belong to, somewhere for them to belong to and to believe in. Basically, it is about making sure that government bends over backwards to ensure that the average man, the average citizen, benefits from the system and is granted opportunities that you and I might have easily.
And we're talking about the people at the lower rungs of the ladder.
Exactly. The movement is basically about uplifting the people. And we say to ourselves, we say Kwankwassiya, and the answer is Amana. Amana actually means trust. Yes, so it is something imbibed in the leadership and the followership of the Kwankwassiya movement.
Right.
That if you're given any position, it is in trust for the people, and you have to make sure that any decision you make,
yes,
you do not look to yourselves first, you look at what would be better or best for the generality of the people.
You've talked about, the issue of security or insecurity going forward as one of the main thrusts of this general election. I can't help thinking that as a former Minister of Defense, he still has access because he's been in the APC, he's been in the PDP. Did he ever prefer any suggestions, for instance, to the current President Muhammadu Buhari on issues of insecurity or how we could actually tackle the incessant attacks and insecurity in the country?
Well, just to buttress your point before I answer the question, I know, for instance, that up until very recently, Kano, which is the beehive of commercial activities in the north, if you think about it, was spared from this Boko Haram scourge, basically because as governor at that time, he spent money, made sure that they equipped the security forces in Kano as well, apart from leaving it to the federal government.
Yes.
And he was able to organize the various native traditional groups to defend themselves, to also get, you see, the most important thing in this war, I'm not a security expert, is intelligence gathering. Most of these people lurk in society, among us, in villages and whatever. When your people are happy, when your people have confidence in the government, they will volunteer information. And then you can nip these things in the bud. But unfortunately, that hasn't happened on a federal level. And but as to your question, I wouldn't know whether or not he's had an audience with Mr. President or the National Security Advisor or whomsoever. But what I would ask cynically as a politician is, would they have listened? You understand? Because I know that there are other things that have happened and occurred and where unfortunately they don't seek other people's opinions and what have you. You see, when you get in to government, then you should reach out across the aisle. Reach out to people. I'm here for the next 4 years. Well, I need your input. We have to work. It's all for the benefit. presumably, the APC is there, PDP is there, NNPP is there, we're saying that we want Nigeria to be better.
Yes.
Presumably. So you should talk to senators, members of the House from other parties as well. Try to bring up bipartisan solutions to the problems we have, you know?
Right. So when people say that the next president, and I'm guilty of that,
Yes.
will come from either the APC or the PDP, thereby discountenancing parties like the NNPP and dismissing the formidability of Rabiu Kwankwaso, for instance. How does that make you all in the NNPP feel?
It makes us feel that good, we have more work to do, and we will do it. It inspires us to work harder. But I keep saying to people that, look, psychologically, the average Nigerian thinks that the exam was last week.
Yes.
Yet the exam is February 25th. I still have 9 months to work.
Yes.
So it's, and a lot of things are happening. But by and large, I will say that with that quotation, I'm not sure if it came from The Godfather or wherever it came from. It is, let your enemies overestimate your faults and your friends underestimate your virtues. So that's where we are. I don't mind people saying, oh, Kwankwaso is not a threat. We keep working.
Yes.
They will know who the threat is or was at the end of the day on February 25th next year, by God's grace.
Join us again after the break. Now, so once the NNPP was real, I mean, established as a party, we've witnessed so many defections to the party, and if truth be told, many of the defectees or defectors seem to be people disgruntled because they didn't get tickets in the parties they're coming from, or there's a power struggle going on, for instance, like in Kano, where there were two factions in the APC, and in the end the Supreme Court ruled that the faction loyal to the governor, the sitting governor, was the authentic faction. Yeah. So, all these people coming to the NNPP seem to be disgruntled. Do you agree with me that if they were happy where they were, they wouldn't move to the NNPP?
Exactly. If we were happy with the way the country is, we wouldn't vote out the APC. You understand? That's natural. You see, it's natural. Especially because you find that these two major parties do not really have a proper internal democratic process. They don't. In 1999, 98, 99, I joined the PDP.
Yes.
So I know the PDP like the back of my hand. When the APC was being formed, I was there. I was on the Presidential Campaign Council for the first, the 2015 election. So yes, I know about the APC as well. So one might be slightly better than the other, but I don't want to campaign for either of them. But basically, that is why you get so many people who are not happy about the democracy there. You see, when you lose an election, or when you're not even allowed to participate, you're not allowed to participate, then you get disgruntled.
People looking at you will say that, oh, that's ironic, because on Tuesday, June the 8th of 2022, Rabiu Kwankwaso emerged as the presidential candidate of the NNPP. He was unopposed. In fact, he seemed to be the only one who bought the nomination and the application forms, and he was the only one screened as well. So What does that do to your point about
What it does to my point,
internal
you see,
democracy?
the thing there is this. How many people attempted to even purchase a form? No one. It was there in the papers. You could pay directly into the bank and collect your form. No one stopped anyone else from collecting the form. They chose not to. The same question someone asked me recently.
Yes.
He said that, oh, why isn't the NNPP zoning to the east?
Yes.
I said, the forms were open. I wouldn't buy a form myself and then go to the east and say, please, who will come and take the form of the NNPP? Yes. It doesn't work that way.
You have people of Southeast extraction in the party.
The party, the NNPP, New Nigeria People's Party, was formed some 21 years ago.
It's not a new party.
It's not a new party. It was formed some 21 years ago. The chairman board of trustees is the founder of the party, Dr. Boniface Anyebunan. He is the chairman board of trustees. The deputy national chairman,
yes,
is a retired air vice marshal, is Igbo, from Igbo extraction as well, and many other officers of the party. So it is a party. You see, the mistake, like a mistake people are making is because they haven't taken time to find out about the NNPP.
To research it properly.
They just assume it's just Kwankwaso. It's just Kwankwaso. It isn't just Kwankwaso.
Okay.
Ladipo Johnson is not from Kano.
Yes.
You understand? And many other people around the country come from where they come from,
yes,
and are participating. So it's a country, it's a party with national spread. All that has happened is that, yes, it was a choice we made that, look, let us all go into the NNPP. You will recall that just before we went into the NNPP, there was a body formed by Kwankwaso. It was the National Movement.
Yes.
And that movement took TNM. We took in people, especially a lot of people who had been non-partisan. That was one of the main things we tried to do,
yes,
to get more people involved in the political process.
Yes.
And I think we've done that to a certain extent. We're going to do more of that from now until election time. We want to get Nigerians participating. If you recall, the last elections, I think the voter turnout was just about 25%,
yes,
which is
low.
poor.
Yeah.
You know. So, and that is because Nigerians do not believe in what they're getting, governance-wise. And unfortunately, they feel that whether we vote or not, it will be rigged and what have you. But we are going to do, as we said, we're on a mission. We're going to ensure that we educate the people, that we go on to register as many new voters as possible.
Yes.
Many other people are singing the same song. And I believe that if we have a large turnout in this country, come next year, early next year, that we might just get the decision right. You understand? The important thing, I always tell my friends, whether you vote for us or not, the important thing is that you participate. It's more important to me that you participate in the process, so that we know that whenever a person is in government representing us, we can say, yes, this is Nigeria. This person is representing us, not representing a quarter of us.
And you know, with the spate of defections now, I'm trying to look at the permutations, especially in the light of reports that there had been talks between Senator Kwankwaso and the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. What is the strategy going forward? Because a lot of the defections are happening in the north. People who are already in government, we have people who are chief of staff in some state governments. We have members of the House of Representatives, senators, all defecting to your party. So is the strategy, for instance, to weaken, divide the votes available to Atiku Abubakar in the north? Is that the strategy that the NNPP is going with? And is there any truth you know, to the rumor making the rounds that the NNPP just may have a merger agreement with the PDP. You know, if both of you are united in your decision to dislodge the APC.
It is natural that with someone that has the political will and strength and force of Rabi Musa Kwankwaso, it's natural that the NNPP, as it were, would begin to make inroads, especially from the northwest out. It is a natural thing. And it's natural that where there is someone very strong and where you see that the masses in that area support that person, and that place is the northwest, which carries most of the votes of Nigeria,
number of registered voters.
It's natural that he would become a bride and people would want to woo him or build bridges that way. So I won't say that there have been no talks between the Atiku Abubakar people and our people.
Yes.
Some people have also said in the news as well, we've read that the Labour Party seems to, people are saying, encouraging the Labour Party. And I must be frank that I have received hundreds of calls from a lot of my friends, whether from Eastern extraction, whether Yorubas or whatever, who are saying that, look, it cannot be any of these two. Woo Labour, both of you should come together, and so we know that it will be a three-horse race, properly so-called.
Yes.
But whichever way, I assure you, as I said, and you know the person of Kwankwaso, we're not here to joke. And whatever we have to do within the means of the law to get our message to the people of Nigeria, to get them to support our vision for the country, we will do. We will not let ego or tribalism or religion stand in the way.
Did you see the posters though? You know, before before Peter Obi landed in the Labour Party, he had stopped by the NNPP. Obviously, talks didn't work out. But we saw that poster, and in that poster, Peter Obi was the presidential candidate, and Kwankwaso was his running mate. Did the talks ever get to that point to warrant a poster being printed?
No, this is the age of the social media. I'm not even so sure that he even knocked on the door of the NNPP, but was out there on social media.
Right.
It's still out there. You get posters and you get people calling me to tell me that why, for the sake of equity and the sake of Nigeria, just tell Kwankwaso to put his whole structure in the northwest and around the country, not just the northwest, and support Obi. And I always smile and say it's not that easy. And I'm sure it's not that easy for Obi either. And I am certain that our uncle in Bodilon and Waziri Adamawa would be praying that it remains uneasy and that it doesn't happen. Because if it happens, I tell you, I know they're gone. But whichever way, they will lose. That is the two major parties. But definitely what I can tell you today is that we are open to anything that will bring about better governance for the people of Nigeria. At the moment, no one has convinced us that the people in the APC meant well for us. If they didn't say anything in the last 7 years, with the way the economy was tanking, I know we had COVID and other things as well.
And the economy tanking seems to be a global thing as well.
Yes, it is. But then what has been done globally by others? You name me one thing, ma'am, that our government has done or did to cut its costs when they were telling the masses of Nigeria to tighten their belts. Not one thing in the last how many years?
We're still top heavy.
Not one thing. They're buying jeeps all the time, National Assembly spending money and everything. And you tell the people of Nigeria to continue to suffer, to continue to adjust. So that shows you that they have no intention. They just believe that Nigerians will not get up, will not do anything. That is why they have taken the people of this country for granted. And that is why they're disgruntled people like myself. We're not happy about how the system is. Especially if you know a bit about what there is in this country that could be for the use of the people and everything. Then you look at yourselves and say, what will happen in some 20, 30 years' time? What will your children say to you?
Yes.
Oh, Dad, Grandpa, you were part of them. It's a sad thing.
Yes.
But as I said, yes, we're open to talks. Because if you want this country to move forward, then it must not just be about you. You must be able to open up, talk to people, look for other ideas. And if you feel that it's better you open up a place for a person to come in with his own people or her own people,
yes,
and get a stronger force going, then we should do that, and we should make sure we work for the people of the country.
I wonder why the NNPP didn't zone the presidential ticket to the south and even micro-zone it to the southeast.
Yes.
Considering that the last 8 years has been, we've been governed by a northern president.
Yeah.
If Rabiu Kwankwaso wins, that will be probably 12 or 16 unbroken years of a northern president.
Yes. As I said earlier, the forms were there available. No other person
Yes.
had the vision or belief or faith that it was possible, or it would be possible, or that at this stage people will be saying, yes, it seems that there are 3 or 4 parties
Yes.
in this race.
Yes.
No other person, no one did. So you can't just zone to the east when you have no one who has come to purchase the form. The other thing is regarding zoning. 3 points, that's the first. The second is that you don't just look to zoning, you look to competence, capability, capacity to do the work. We've had 7+ years. Unfortunately, Mr. President, we thank God he seems much better now. He started out with medical issues that got things were slow.
Yes.
At that time. We don't want that again. Nigeria has too many problems. As you said, there's a world recession coming up, and we need someone who's on the ball, who can face the rigors of that office. I tell you, it is rigorous. Because even during this campaign, I'm a young 50-something-year-old.
Yes.
And Senator Kwankwaso is now 65. I tell you, even now I complain to people that, look, this man, you're with him till about 3 a.m. And by the time he says you should meet him for a meeting at 9 a.m., he's dressed in his white babariga, looking like a baby, and you are tired just coming in. So you need someone who is fit, someone who has the capacity to do it, and someone who has the political will to do it. And the last point I was going to make, the issue of rotation or zoning is a political party issue. Before you can bring about positive change,
Yes.
you have to get into government first. So if at that given point in time, you look at the field, and that field is, oh, there's a south here, there's a southwest here, there's this. You look at the field. you look at the possible candidates from your opponents.
Yes.
Then you take your decision.
Because the whole idea is to win.
Yes. Before you can bring about that positive change, you have to be able to take government.
Yes.
When you take government, then you can now say, oh, are we going to restructure? Oh, are we going to do this? Oh, are we going to do that? But if you make those decisions and start shouting about them before strategizing about how you're going to get into government,
yes,
you fall flat and you cannot bring the positive change you want to bring to the people.
Yes.
So those are the three main reasons why it is as it is with us in the NNPP.
And I want you to clarify now,
Yes.
straight up, was Peter Obi ever offered anything in the NNPP, be it as a running mate or you know, did the talks happen?
Well, as I said,
You're a small boy.
I wouldn't know.
Yes.
But as at the time I spoke to Senator Kwankwaso about it, some evening we were together, just relaxing. Obi is a friend of his. They're friends, they talk, you know.
Right.
I don't think that those talks had held.
Right.
Not between both of them anyway.
And,
now,
and
that might
not
have
officially.
happened, not officially. That might have happened now. But I know for certain that there are people from both sides talking. Personally speaking, myself and Abure,
Yes.
the national chairman of the Labour Party, were very good friends. So we talk often.
Yes.
And it's work in progress. That much I'll tell you.
Right.
And there are many others. I was fortunate enough to speak to, about a week and a half ago, or 2 weeks ago, I was fortunate enough to talk to one of the, in fact, before he went to Labour,
Right.
I was able to talk to one of the equivalent of a general in this country, retired, that is an OB person.
Yes.
Because a friend of mine came to visit me. I said, no, talk to this man. OB should come to NNPP, he shouldn't go. And I spoke to him. And he was like, oh, young man, you know, this and that. I think we're going to Labour. And I said, yes, I think I heard that. And I asked him certain questions. And he was like, well. And I said, exactly. Think about it.
Yes.
And everything. So a lot of things are still happening.
Yeah. It's not yet very clear, the picture.
Not clear.
But the two major parties seem to have decided on their running mates. Before we go into that, has the NNPP decided on a running mate, which zone he would come from, for instance, if he will be Christian or Muslim?
Well, Senator Kwankwaso is a northern Muslim. He's an astute politician. He's an astute strategist.
Yes.
So I trust together we go forward to fight the many battles that we'll have to fight so as to win the war in February.
Join us again after the break. Welcome back. Now let's talk about the permutations. You know, Nigeria is divided into 6 geopolitical zones. The NNPP prides itself as being strong in the northwest and the northeast. You and I know that the most number of registered voters belong in the northwest. What are your strategies? You also know that the Constitution, the way it is crafted, you can't win only in one zone and be president. It has to have a spread. So the way I've divided it is you must get at least 4 zones, which translates to an average of 24 states. So you will win some of those 24 states and you will score a quarter of the votes in others. Going forward, where do you think your strengths and weaknesses lie in the NNPP? I know you won't want to tell us.
I wouldn't want to do a SWOT analysis on the on TV, but from what we have out there, as you mentioned, the Northwest, the Northeast are looking very, very good. There are parts of North Central that I believe will do relatively well. In the Southwest, I'm quite confident that we will do very well there. The Southwest is going to be unlike, it will be tough because of the way some people will try to run it, but it will not go one way like some people think.
It won't be impossible to get 25%
Definitely
of the votes.
not. Definitely not. It will not be. So I think the thing we'll be looking at here is whether the NNPP can bite into the Southwest, parts of the Southeast, Southeast and South.
Yes.
Once it takes a bite there, then I think we're getting home. You understand?
Yes.
You see, with the Northwest, what you have to understand is that there's some 4 or 5 critical states that you need to get the presidency. You understand? We're fortunate that our party is very, 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 very strong in those areas.
Yes.
And then we have to make sure that we add what needs to be added before February. We have to do the work.
Yes.
I keep telling people when they say, you know, you analyzed it properly. Most people will say to you, Ladipo, you can't win Lagos, you can't win Ibadan or Oyo. And I laugh at them and ask them, did Obasanjo win any of these places in his first term? You see? So you have to understand the dynamics. I keep telling people, when you look at the American system, it's slightly different from ours.
Yes.
Gore against Bush Jr. Al Gore went to the whole of the US. He went to all the states, campaigned in all the states. George Bush went to the states with the electoral votes.
Yes, that matters.
And didn't touch everywhere. So that is it. The game is on in February. It's Nigeria, and we will do what we have to do legally.
You know, I can't have you sitting here without talking about your political ambition. I mean, you contested for the seat of the governor of Lagos. I think your party then was the Alliance National Party, ANP. You've contested 2019. I thought under this party, NNPP, you would be trying to contest again. You've been a Kwankwaso man, you know, for forever, is what I say. But with the entry of Adedosunmu defecting, you know, resigning from the Lagos State PDP and coming into the NNPP, does that put your ambition, if it's still there, in jeopardy?
Well, the first thing is, in 2011, I was the Director General of Adedosumu's campaign in the PDP then against Fashola for Fashola's second term.
Yes.
Dosumu was chairman of the Kwankwassiya Movement in Lagos. We ran it together for quite a few years. Dosumu, however, remained in the PDP when we came to the NNPP.
Yes.
He remained there because of his ambition to be governor. Because of the sort of primaries or non-primaries that they had in the PDP. He wrote a letter. He said he was leaving, and he came to talk to us. And we reminded him that yes, this is his home, you know, but for one reason or the other, he still is patched things up with the PDP, so he's still there.
All right. Now, I want to also talk about former Kano governor now, Senator Ibrahim Shekarau.
Okay.
His return to the NNPP, and stories making the round today that perhaps he's one of those being considered to be the running mate to the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC. It's confusing.
Now, I doubted that would happen. You know,
Is he still in the NNPP?
Shekarau is still in the NNPP. As at this morning, he's in the NNPP. He's a senatorial candidate from Kano Central.
Right.
And they're working together. I don't know. Well, I thought they would have said Ganduje, the governor of Kano, because he seems to be very close to our uncle in Bodilon.
It's confusing for me because one of the reasons Shekarau moved to your party was the result of the court decision that ruled in favor of Governor Ganduje's faction of the APC. And I wondered, will, you know, with Ganduje's involvement in the APC presidential campaign and his closeness to the presidential candidate, how it, you know, would the running mate ticket be offered to somebody who left the party?
Yes, I doubt it very much. I doubt it very much. I doubt it very much. But you know, on social media and what have you, you have all these permutations.
All these stories making the rounds. So there were earlier reports of a purported alliance between some political parties and a third force. I think parties like ADC, AA, YPP, etc. Is that completely off the cards now? We have about 16 candidates that have emerged. I mean, I'm thinking if there was going to be a merger between all these smaller parties with your party, they wouldn't have gone ahead to elect a presidential candidate. Now that they've all had candidates, are we ruling out the possibility of any merger happening between NNPP and any other parties?
Not necessarily, because at times you can have a full merger, and at times you can have presidential candidates stepping down for presidential candidates, and the party adopting, saying all the supporters, please support the candidates of the NNPP now.
Yes.
And you come to terms, you talk about how you would work together in government.
Yes.
So there's still a possibility of that.
All right. So in my introduction, I talked about how the national chairman, Professor Alkali, said that the NNPP has become the party to beat, not just in Kano, but all over the country. Nigerians are tired and are therefore looking for a better option. Two things that came to my mind there. First, he acknowledges that your strongest state is Kano. I think that's understandable because Rabbi Kwankwaso was governor of Kano State for 8 years, also represented them at the National Assembly as a senator. When you say Nigerians are tired and are therefore looking for a better option, people talk about structure.
Yes.
You know, you hear that word bandied about a lot in the last couple of days, especially, of course, as related to Peter Obi and his candidacy in the Labour Party. Do you think Nigerians will actually give up the two main political parties, the APC and the PDP, who seem to have the type of structure that we're all used to all over the country, in 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, in 774 local government areas. They're widespread, and they have people working for those parties across the country. You've said the NNPP isn't a new party. I'm surprised at that. And I'm sure many people watching us now will be surprised at that.
Yes,
can you compete with these two major parties in terms of funding and in terms of party reach?
Yes, as I said, the examination is not today. It is in 9 months' time. By the end of the campaigns, we would have reached all those places that are slightly weaker now, and we would have decided on our strategy moving forward. When all the candidates have emerged, when you know which senators are where, you know the vice presidential candidates, then you can plot what you would think is your path to the presidency or to the elections. Bottom line, though, is that we do have the structure around the entire country. As I told you, and as you well know, we've had the Kwankwassiya movement itself, and it had structures everywhere around the entire country. Now, we all moved into the Kwankwassiya movement. We still have people in the APC, we have people in the PDP, but most of us have moved into the NNPP, along with those who were in the NNPP originally, and those who are also coming in from different political parties and what have you. And as you say, we've had people coming in, sitting senators, members of reps, members of assembly. We even have about two serving deputy governors who have come across. So I think if I want to sound spiritual, I'll say that the good Lord is covering our steps. You understand? And the, not enemy, but the political enemy seems to be underestimating us. And they do so at their peril. So we're ready. We're working towards it. We're going to be stronger. In the next 2 months, we'll be much stronger. And I think that by November, November, then you have December, January, by November, people will begin to realize that, one, the elections will be too close to call, and I think that by early February, our man will pull ahead.
We'll win.
We'll
Of the two major political parties, who is your most formidable opponent? Is it the APC or the PDP? And don't forget, the former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar, you know, everyone says he's a formidable politician as well. Yeah. Well-grounded.
They all are.
And
they both
very
are.
experienced. And, you know, we talk about the APC candidate as well.
I don't think that, you know, the unfortunate thing is that a lot of people, you know, it depends on what, if you talk about Nigeria now, if you ask any child born recently, say, who is Atiku Abubakar? Say, who is Oshibajo? Oh, I know him. You see, some people have name recognition because of where they've been. Oshibajo doesn't have the structure Atiku Abubakar has. In the same vein, a lot of people tend to underestimate Rabbi Kwankwaso. I told you that in the SDP days, Abiola's
1993, that's 30 years ago.
Abiola's election. It was his local government that Bashir Tofa was. He defeated Tofa for Abiola. And he was made deputy speaker of the House of Representatives. So when you have such a person, people down south may not know so much about him. But I assure you, in the next few months, especially with the interests being generated naturally by people, you can see registrations going up and what have you, people will find out and they will know more about him. And they will know that he is just as formidable as both men that we have spoken about. And he is even more so, you understand, when you look at the area of his area of strength. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
If you look at Atiku Abubakar, take Adamawa, you understand?
Yes, that's northeast.
Northeast. Look at Bola Tinubu, start with Lagos.
Southwest.
You understand? Look at the dynamics, the breakdown, ethnic breakdown of Lagos State. The Igbos, the Arewas, together probably form about 50-something% of the voting bloc in Lagos.
Yes.
Will he control those people with
As
the
well.
candidates that are out? If you look at the southeast, if Obiwe is contesting,
Yes.
and if the southeasterners are supporting him, then look at the votes from the southeastern states.
Yes.
Do they equate to Kano State? Just Kano. I'm not talking about Katsina, Jigawa, Yobe, Zamfara. So it's going to be interesting.
Interesting times
exactly.
ahead.
It's going to be interesting. But we pray that things will be peaceful, that it will be a fair game, that all candidates will work towards a better Nigeria. Leave it to the people of Nigeria to decide. And we urge the people of the country to get registered, get involved, and we pray that whoever is best and has the interests of the people of this country at heart should be the one to emerge in February 2023.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson, for speaking with me today. And congratulations again, Mr. Johnson, on your nomination as the vice presidential candidate of your party, the NNPP.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.